Dada. Yo, me man, bring back. That's what I put on the paper. After I was it, I was
In the mix with the commish, Nate.
Without fail, if I needed to be ready when I'm ready, it is not ready. Welcome into Press Pass Live, your weekly OMFL podcast show here. I am your guest, the host. I'm not your guest. I'm your host, the founder, the commissioner of the OMFL, Nate. Let me welcome in my buddy, who I didn't even get to say hello to because, well, I accidentally kind of did this whole process backwards. So what's up, Mr. Maniac? You're commissioner of the Deuce, our NCAA league here in the OMFL, and the owner of the Buffalo Bills. How you doing tonight, bud?
What's up, man? Doing good. Doing well, and missed Press Pass 5 last week because I was watching the Cowboys lose. They actually played a good game, but they lost. But I will say, on behalf of my Cowboys, they have played a lot better football as of late. So no, you can't ask for much better in the situation we're in right now, just to have good football to watch. So.
Yeah, listen, I'm a Saints fan, so I get it. It is what it is. I also forgot to set up all of this Press Pass Live setup, so let me quickly kind of get that taken care of really fast. It shouldn't take but a quick second. There we go. We should be good to go now. Mr. Maniac, let's jump into a couple games. What's up, Meek Boy? I never seen my guy Meek here in the chat, so good to see you tonight. Let's talk about some games in week 10, 11, and 12. And since it's Maniac and I, this might take 4 hours. So buckle in. Get your chin strap on nice and tight. We might be here for just a little bit. Jets kind of blow out the Falcons. That's one I would not have expected to see. My Saints drop one to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And God, this one still burns in my craw. Get it down. There's like 28 seconds left. Complete a ball on the sideline. It looks to me like he's tackled as he's going out of bounds. Game says, nay. His knee was inbounds. The clock's going to keep running. Oh, and I'm going to do a 12-second runoff. No time left. You don't even get to spike the ball. Just absolute horse badookie. Your Buffalo Bills beat the Miami Dolphins. That's the game I want to talk about, so I'm going to come back to it. Philadelphia, that game actually was not played. Tennessee comes away with a 3-point victory over the Houston Texans, 30-27. Seattle squeaking boy, talking about Meek here in the chat. Seattle squeaking by the Los Angeles Rams. I don't know why. Still struggle with that. The voice is kind of leaving me tonight. I don't know what's going on, but 24-21, they come away with the victory. Carolina barely falls to the San Francisco 49ers, 20-14. The Chargers, 38. The Vegas Raiders, 35. So a tight game there. Jacksonville with a 21-18 victory over Mr. Denbrew, and Minnesota, 33. The Baltimore Ravens, 28. But I want to talk about your game because I actually watched this game. I had to leave a little bit, but I think right at halftime or so. It wasn't looking too good for the Miami Dolphins. For the Buffalo Bills. We're going to get all the words out of our head here in just a little bit. They jump out to a nice little comfortable lead. But here comes Buffalo, man. Pegging away. You ended up taking a massive lead into the fourth quarter. Man, you were going to need it. As Miami comes back, scores 14 there in the fourth quarter. They fall by 10. Give me a quick recap of that game, and then I'm going to go through some stats.
Yeah, recap on this game, and it was a tough game. I mean, it started off, it was looking bleak for me. I was thinking, man, I'm fixing to get blowed out 41 to 7 or 10 or something, and I've had that happen against him before. But the main thing was that looking in this game. He got away from the rush, and he only had 14 yards offensive rushing yards. So I think that kind of hurt him. But again, when you kind of get down, and that's what happened, especially in that second half, I kind of come out, kind of have a drive, go down the field, and then I get a turnover, short field, then get another score, and then I think late in the mid to late fourth, I get an actual interception off of him, run it back for a touchdown as well with Shepard. So I think that really kind of put him behind the 8 ball. But, man, he came out in that fourth quarter still firing on all cylinders. Joe Duke, you cannot relax on this dude 1 second. He is the Tom Brady of the OMFL, I think, right now with Joe Duke, and he is just a monster passer. I mean, he's so accurate on a lot of his throws. You look at he's 22 of 28.
No, don't you dare go through these stats.
No, I'm not. But I'm just going to point out Joe Duke because he's 22 of 28. Still, even throwing that pick. Without that pick, he was going to be only missing 5 passes. So it's insane.
Yeah.
How well and how accurate he is with Joe Duke, but. Man, my Bills survive it, and We were the first ones to take him down and get rid of that undefeated record for the Dolphins.
Yeah, Miami, this was Joe Duke's first game back, I'm pretty sure, after a lengthy going away with an injury. Man, you said it, he was on fire. Only 14 rushing yards allowed for the Buffalo Bills defense, though. Your Bills were making him one-sided, ended up getting the pick late in this game. Only sacked him one time. Josh Allen, he took 3 sacks, but Josh Allen was just on fire as Joe Duke was. 243, 3 touchdowns, no interceptions, 60% completion percentage with a 12.1 yards per attempt. Hill, 6 attempts, 99 yards. Man, you were getting big plays by him. Big play of 41, 1 touchdown on the day. James Cook, 15 for 49. So all around, really great rushing game from the Buffalo Bills. Tyreek Hill, man, he got it done. 6 for 148 at a touchdown. Levet, I don't know if I'm saying it right, 5 for 128 with 2. Wilson had 5 for 121. Lots of big-time plays going on in the passing game in this one. Looking at some defense, well, there wasn't a whole lot to look at outside of what the Buffalo Bills did to the running game. 4 tackles for loss for Robinson. What a name, Chop Robinson for the Miami Dolphins. 6 for Jay Childs and 4 for Jay Childs, 2 for Sweat. So you can see Miami was making some plays in the backfield, especially against the passing game. But it was that solid running game from the Buffalo Bills that just was able to keep them going. The 1 interception coming from Adrian Shepard. That's a quick look at week number 10. I want to look at week number 11 really quick. Couple of close games. I played mine. Felt like last night. Maybe it wasn't last night. It was last night. It's just flying by. I forgot. It was the last game. You guys were waiting on me to get back from a little small vacation. This was another really tough one. We battled. We fought. Carolina ends up getting the ball with just under 2 minutes left to go. I think they had 2 timeouts, man, and they just kind of put their drives together, get it right down inside the 5 or 8 yard line, somewhere in there. He was trying to save his timeout, and I understood it. He quick snapped me, though. We had a conversation about it. I'm just going to tell all of you how I feel. If you have a timeout, you cannot quick snap somebody. In a no-switch league, it is a crazy competitive advantage. You all know that. He caught me switching. I was trying to switch to the cornerback to cover the inside slant, but he snapped me as I was switching there, and it just wouldn't give me control of my player. He just decimated me on a slant, wide open touchdown. Carolina Panthers win. So just for in general, maybe this has to come back to the FPR because some people need it in sort of, we got to have it written down, but we just try not to quick snap. If you have a timeout, you cannot quick snap. If you don't have a timeout, you do what you got to do. Everybody's just trying to get the play off. Do you? But if you have timeouts, you cannot quick snap somebody in this league. It's just too much of a competitive advantage. That's not what won him the game. He won it from a dominant run defense. Absolutely shut down my run. He was so dominant on third down, and he just kept sticking to his game plan, man. He just kept battling, and that's what Bird does, and that's why he's a winner in this league. Rams with a 35-21 victory over the Atlanta Falcons. That one had a little yuckiness behind it. We can talk about it a little bit. We'll come back to the New England-Baltimore game, 49-45 in that one. Green Bay falls to the Raiders, 31-34. Lots of big scores in this one. Detroit falls by 1 to Dallas. I want to talk about 2 games. That one and that New England game. Who else is here? Giants with a 1-point win over the Eagles. The Chargers with a 3-point victory over the Vikings. Jacksonville with a 42-35 victory over Joker and his Cardinals. Your Bills, 31-27 over the Tampa Bay Bucks. They're like me. They just cannot buy a victory. Seattle with a 20-17 victory over the San Francisco 49ers. They continue to have some pretty dominant wins over the 49ers in the regular season. But Meek, you know what the bugaboo is. We got to see you do it whenever we get to the playoffs. Let's see if you can get there and make that happen. Let's come back up here. We'll talk about New England, Baltimore. Then, you know what? I want to toss you a little egg here. I want you to talk about Dallas and Detroit. That looked like a really great game. Look at the scoring in this game. 14-17 in the first half for Baltimore, 7-21 in the second half for New England. They were dominant in a lot of ways. 554 passing yards to 470 passing yards for the Baltimore Ravens. 735 total yards gained to 784 total yards gained for the Ravens. Just passing it, big plays coming from all different ends. Jackson, 5 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. Rusty Starr, 7 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. Thanks, FaZe Justin. Appreciate the follow. Thanks for hanging out with us here tonight. Man, Rusty Starr, I got to play him tomorrow night. Not looking forward to it. Only 1 sack for both of those defenses. Looking at the rushing game really quick, not a whole lot there. This is the anti-maniac game. 9 for 46 was the leading rusher from Stevenson. Receiving, though, Tajay Richard, 5 receptions, 231 yards, 3 touchdowns on the game. 7 from Walker with 3 touchdowns, 195 yards. There's a 154 on here from Thornton, a 161 from Kirk, a 160 from Flowers. What are we doing over there in Baltimore for this one? Not
Who
a
needs
lot
a
of
100-yard receiving game?
Yeah, they're all getting them out. Oprah's handing them out like cars. 1 sack from Jobo, and Butler also had a sack, and then a couple interceptions. Duggar, Gonzalez, Mail, and Mitchell each with an interception. Quite the game there in Baltimore as New England gets out of that one with a 4-point victory. And that's not the typical game that you would think Lost Sniper would win, but he gets one there. You want to talk about this Dallas game?
Let me talk about this Dallas game and them Detroit Lions. Man, this game was down to the wire. As you see on the score sheet there, first, second, third, and fourth quarters, the Lions only get 6 points in that fourth quarter. So I'm not real sure exactly if that was field goals or if that was a missed extra point or they went for 2. But man, what a game! You're looking at the stats, offensive yards. We know what Dwayne's looking to do, and that's run the ball. 185 rushing yards to 30 for the Lions. He did win the passing yards here with 271 over 114 versus the Cowboys. Pretty even on the first downs. Looking at turnovers, 2 turnovers for the Lions. So anytime you have a close game like that, you always got to go back to those situations where if you just hadn't turned that ball over maybe one last time, could have changed the outcome. Time of possession is almost dead heat right there. Looking at the stats, Fargas, the rookie quarterback out of Arizona State, 303 yards passing, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. Had a very good day passing the ball, though, 21 of 30 for 70% completion percentage for the rookie. Getting it done. He's a big quarterback, too, 6'3", 227 pounds, so getting it done. Dak Prescott, though, would not be forgotten. He had 119 yards passing. Not a lot of yards, but efficient with 2 touchdowns, 1 interception, 12 of 20, 60% there. We all know what the Cowboys like to do, like I said, and that's run the ball. McMullen is the bell cow for the Cowboys, 16 attempts, 107 yards and a touchdown. Henry did get a touchdown, but only 7 carries and 17 yards. And you can see Dwayne getting some of his guys' backups there, getting some rushing yards as well. Leading receivers for the game, Ron St. Brown, 7 receptions for 113 yards, didn't have any scores. Jameson Williams also had 4 for 105, no scores though. Laporta did have 5 receptions for 71 and a touchdown. Lamb was a big man for the Cowboys though with 5 receptions, 65 yards, but was getting it in the end zone with 2 scores there. Looking at your defensive side of the ball, the tackle leader for this game was Diggs with 9. It's kind of unusual to see your cornerback making a lot of tackles, but the Lions were passing the ball around a lot, so they must have been going at Diggs quite a bit. But 9 tackles there, tackle for loss. Your loss tackle for loss leader, Osa Digizua, man, he had 5 of those. Yeah, it just rolled right out of on the tongue, man. I got it the first try. I guarantee that I'll try to say it again. I won't mess it up. DeMarcus Lawrence, man, 3. Hutchinson for the Lions had 3 tackles for a loss. Sack leader. We talked about these other teams or other games not having sacks. That wasn't the case here. Odigizua had 2.5. Parsons had a sack and a half here. Lawrence had a sack. Hutchinson had a sack for the Lions, and then your interception leaders Hooker and Ross. Anytime you have a hooker making an interception, that's a bad thing. So, man, it was a great game. This should probably be a OMFL classic right here. If I was TM, I'd probably be submitting it because at 26-25, I mean, you went toe to toe with the champ there.
Build some confidence with the classic Dwayne game, right? I'm going to lose the passing yards, but I'm still going to pass for 70% plus. Oh, I'm going to sack your quarterback 5 times. I'm not going to let you run the ball at all, and I'm going to pick you off. Like, just the classic Dwayne game. Now, we still got a lot of games to go here in week number 12. That's what week we're in. A lot of games to go because we just advanced last night, but a couple games that we can look at. Tampa Bay, the good victory over the Green Bay Packers, who are trying to make a run for the playoffs here, 28-31. The Detroit Lions with a 45-17 victory over the Chicago Bears. The game that I really want to talk about is this Pittsburgh and Rams game, a 33-32 victory.
Oh, wow.
I don't know if I recall seeing Maniac so many games that were 1-point differences in just this little short period of time. Like the last 5-6 weeks, there's been a ton of games that have been 1-point victories. 16 points in the first quarter for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Well, that's a weird score. Followed by 11 points from the Rams in the second quarter. I guess we were hitting doubles and triples and all kinds of stuff here. And then to follow with 15 points in the fourth quarter for the LA Rams to get a 33-32 victory over the Pittsburgh Steelers. Rushing yards right there even, 109-105. Passing yards went to the Steelers, 249 in that one. You can see there were 3 turnovers for the Steelers, but 4 for the Rams. So both guys kind of giving the ball up, not protecting the ball, not doing a good job of holding on to it. Time of possession, very heavily to the Steelers, which is not shocking. That's usually what Penguins does really well. He's going to ball control you. He's going to force you into some uncomfortable plays. He plays similar to a lot of these big top teams here. Lawrence, pretty good game. 3 touchdowns, 1 interception. He was only 47% completion percentage and 4 sacks, but their defense came through for them. Tua, he had a touchdown, but 3 interceptions, and he was sacked 4 times with a 53% completion percentage. Rushing leaders, it was Williams at 13 for 94, no touchdowns on the day. But Mr. Najee Harris, he had 7 for 78. He had a longer 25 with a touchdown on the day. Just not enough carries there, but it's enough to get him the victory. Nakua, 4 for 108 and 1 touchdown. Pickens, 3 for 101 and 1 touchdown. Lowry with 5 and 1 touchdown. And then way down here, we also had, who is this? Where are we at? Jawan Johnson, my old Saint, 4 for 1 touchdown. Looking at some defense real quick. The tackle leader on the day was Mr. Highsmith with 8. I'm sorry, I'm looking at the wrong stat. Tackles for loss is also going to be Highsmith with 4. Chubb also had 4. Look at the sacks here. Highsmith had a hell of a game. 8 tackles, 4 tackles for loss, 3 sacks on the day. That's going to get you probably honorees of National Defensive Player of the Week. Chubb also had 2 sacks, so he had a hell of a game. 5 tackles, 4 for a loss, 2 sacks. Dorsett had a sack. Kobe Turner had a sack, and then 2 half sacks from Hayward and Watt. And then your interceptions came from Fitzpatrick, Jackson, Wilson, and Curl. They all each had 1. And the LA Rams sneak away with a big-time victory there over Pittsburgh. I still, though, feel like Pittsburgh is sneakily like building something there in Pittsburgh. They're starting to put the pieces together. Got his quarterback, get a weird time this season. He's starting to gain some confidence there. I'm telling you, Pittsburgh's going to be a team to watch as we move into season 113. Let's talk about some games to come here, week 13, 14, and 15. And for that, I'm going to turn it over to you.
All right, so week 13, what are we looking at? Right off the top here, I hate giving self-promotion, but this is a rematch from the OMFL Bowl, so this is a big game. And we're both having decent seasons, so it should be, I'm praying it's going to be a good close game because Dwayne can sometimes get in my head and take me for a beating. So, but I think this game is going to be definitely a good one to watch, though. Both teams are really kind of similar matched up. Our teams are kind of built similar. Like you said, we like to run the ball, like to control the ball, and play off of that. So I will say, though, here as of late, I've found my passing game a little bit. I'm still not real comfortable passing the ball like I would really want to in the situations where I need it, but I think I am feeling a little bit more comfortable with how that's feeling right now. But this is, again, you get the two guys that were in the OMFL Bowl, so anytime you have a rematch, you always got to kind of highlight that one. The other one that I was really looking at from this week is a matchup from the AFC West. You got the Chiefs and the Raiders, and again, there's a lot of games we could talk about. I mean, I feel bad because we're not talking about all the games, but we'll be here until 1 a.m. if I do all that. So, and I know Nate's got to get in bed. So, but the Chiefs and the Raiders, I think this one is going to be real pivotal. I think there is a little bit of a race in the AFC West. I didn't write and make a note as where these guys are in the AFC West right now, but usually these two guys are fighting out for either a playoff position as a wild card, or they're battling out for the West. And I know the Broncos have really had a good season, so these two guys, though, anytime they play really it's kind of a firepower of a game that you can just see points scored and have some defense, but it's more geared toward the offense, and it always makes for a fun game to watch here in Week 13. Like I said, there's some other games that you can keep an eye on. Lions and Panthers, Browns and Steelers would be a great one to watch as well. Moving on to Week 14, the two games that I really highlighted for this week are the Dolphins and Buccaneers. Both these guys are actually Dolphin fans, but Kev's taking the Buccaneers.
I don't know if Kev's a fan of anything.
But Massimo, he's got his favorite team. Kev's having to go against his favorite team. Massimo, though, has kind of hit a stumbling block a little bit. He was undefeated, and he's taken 2 straight losses coming in this game. He's still got his Week 13 game to play, so we'll see how that unfolds for the Dolphins. But again, the Buccaneers, I just played them. Kev is a baller. That's all I can say. He knows how to play the game. He's very comfortable passing the ball around all over the field. And sometimes it gets him in trouble, but you can tell that he's just like, as you see, like some of these guys, passing for 7-6 touchdowns in a game, they're going to play the game the way they like and enjoy, and that's the way they're going to do it. And Kev, he's still working on his team, but I think he's starting to kind of get maybe a feel of some things, because he's really been playing exceptional, especially on the offensive side. I think the defense still needs a little bit of work, but I think he's got a couple of young players. I think they're going to be difference makers going forward. The Dolphins played him 2 weeks ago. He's got a guy on the defensive line, Childs is his name. He's a defensive tackle. He's like 340 or 50 pounds or something like that. He's huge. He's like 6'6", and he was in the backfield. I mean, every time I was handing off, especially in the first half, man, he was dominating the line of scrimmage, and I kind of had to make an adjustment because he was just dominating that well. So the Dolphins really have a physical front seven that attacks you in your run game and your passing game, that just makes it difficult for you to get comfortable in the pocket. He sacked me 3 times, probably could have had 6 or 7 sacks. So there was just some times I just dumped the ball, got rid of it. But these two match up really well. They play similar, air it out, find the deep ball, find the big play, and I think it's going to be fireworks from start to finish in this game. So be on the lookout for this one. The number 2 game this week, Week 14, Seahawks, Cardinals. The NFC West. Meek Boy has kind of found his rhythm. As you can see, his last game, putting up 45 points, beat D-Money. Again, like you said, we got to see what we can do in the playoffs. But the Cardinals, Joker, he's had an up and down season, but man, can he put up points at any moment in this game and make a run. So this game is going to be an extremely good game to watch. They're going to see a lot of fireworks. The Seahawks have got a replacement guy for Metcalf, who they sent to the Chargers. the rookie has been playing really well. He's got like 50 catches and like 9 or 10 touchdowns on the season. So I think his name's Tyson. So he's one to watch out for this game. But the Cardinals could pull this game out of the hat as well. So, but again, this is going to be a great game to watch. Broncos Chargers will probably be a really good one. And even an entertaining Bills and Patriots, I think, will be a great entertaining game to keep your eye on as well. Moving on to Week 15, I've got 3 games highlighted here: Saints versus Falcons. Anytime you have these two, whenever I was a Falcons, it was always a battle to the end with you, Nate. The Saints and Falcons is just, there's a kind of a storied rivalry there, and it's always a big matchup. No matter whoever's running the Falcons, those Saints are always usually in a close game here, and I think this game is going to be a really good one. Even though it may not have a lot to prove here, I think you're up possibly to take a stab at the division lead. I think you're kind of neck and neck with the Panthers, but again, anytime these two guys get together, it's always kind of like who makes the most mistakes usually end up losing the game, and whoever can key in on the big play usually wins the game. So again, Saints Falcons is a game to watch. Keep an eye on this one, and I'll be tuning into this one. The other one for this week is another big divisional matchup, and we're talking about the Rams Loganator versus D-Money and the 49ers. This game should be game of the week. I think it'll be a great game to watch. I think there's going to be a lot of it seems like there are some games you'll see these guys put up a lot of points, and then you see them when they face off with certain teams. It's a little bit more defensive. So this one has a chance to be a defensive type of game. But I think it's going to be one that's going to be back and forth. You're going to see maybe a couple mistakes. D-Money is not the all pristine player we have seen. He does throw the mistake here and there and stuff. So I think he's a little bit more human this Madden so far, and I think that makes for a really good matchup in this game. And then last but not least, I think this one could have big implications. Talk about Nysonger and the Vikings and the Giants. Nysonger, I think, is kind of on the cusp of probably missing out on the playoffs. I think he's like 3 wins, 7 losses, 8 losses, something like that. But the Giants are trying to get into that wild card spot. But Nysonger has played exceptionally well and has put up points in most of these games that I've watched. He's been really close, like right on the cusp. Maybe only losing by 7, 10, 3 points, even a couple points, maybe even a 1-point game. So he's been really competitive in these games, and I think he could be one, if the Giants don't watch out, he could be someone that could be playing spoiler here, and the Giants could maybe miss out on a playoff spot if they're not careful here. But again, it's going to be a great game. I think both guys match up really well, and I think it's going to be a good one to watch here in the OMFL.
I completely agree with you. And now let's go dig into some OMFL news. Oh, wait, I can't go over here. That's right. I got to stay over there. Sorry, Maniac. I went to the wrong scene, forgetting that it's got to stay over there. Let's go to the OMFL news with Mr. Denbrew, who's bringing it back for us. Mr. Denbrew, take it away.
Welcome back to the OMFL News. We are in week 12 of season 112 in the OMFL. I am Denbrew, and this is your news. Going to take a quick look at the division races. I know we did it last year, but we're just going to do a little condensed version because we got some really good ones going on. The parity in the OMFL this season is unbelievable. And some of these races are going to come down to the wire, so let's take a look at some of the tight ones. The NFC North is a tight one. You got Green Bay and Detroit both sitting at 5-5. They're leading that division, and those two play each other in Week 15, which will be a huge matchup. The Lions won the first one, 45-44, so that's going to be a good one. Down in the NFC South, East, and West, those are all controlled by the Panthers, Cowboys, and 49ers. Not much to report there. The AFC North is another tight one with the Bengals and Browns both sitting at 6-4, with the Ravens sitting right there in the mix at 5-6. The AFC East is another good division battle with the Dolphins at 9-2, the Bills right there at 8-2. Those two have already played twice, and they split the series. But the best battle taking place is in the AFC West with the Broncos at 6-4, the Raiders and Chargers at 5-5, and the Chiefs right there still in it at 5-6. That's a quick look at your division news, and I'm going to end it right there at 1:30, Nate. And I'm going to come back with a segment number 2 because I went 6 minutes last time. And I got sent to the naughty chair. So we are going to kick it back to Nate and Press Pass Live.
That's not true, Denbrew. No naughty chair here. I appreciate
the naughty chair.
6 minutes, 10 minutes, 5. I'm just saying 6 minutes is a long time to stop the show and I like it when you break it up a little bit. Big Hurt, were you talking about me or Denbrew? I guess I missed the pots in the background if you're talking about Denbrew. If you're talking about me, this is my bottle of water because as I was talking with Maniac, I don't know why my throat is shot today, so I was like, I gotta go get some water. All right, let's dig into this just a little bit, Mr. Maniac. I want to talk about some rookie check-in. Actually, we're gonna come over here for this one. Let's talk about some rookie check-ins. And then after we check in on the rooks and kind of point out a couple guys that we really like, I cannot show you that in game, but after we point that out, I want to talk about one team. Pick a team, pick one change, and tell me how that's going to help that team. And that's what we're going to dig at here in just a little bit. Okay, I'm going to take the first jab at this. There's a couple of really top-notch rookies, especially at the quarterback position. I think for the first time in quite, 4, 5, 6 seasons, maybe not that far. It's probably too far back, but first time in at least 3 seasons, we've had some top-flight rookie quarterbacks in this class that just came out. We've also had some really nice running backs. We've had running backs have a really nice season. Receiver, we always have the speedsters go to the right teams, and man, they always seem to find a way with those guys. And then we're going to take a look at the defensive leaders. It's wide open. We're going to go through a couple of these. I've got to get a nod to the quarterbacks. They're the sexiest guys on the team. They're the big time players. They carry the entire franchise on their shoulder. Everybody's looking for that key core quarterback, and Mr. Jesse Fargas and Ricky Scully have really figured that out for their teams. And really, Danny McDimes, I hate that name, but it is what it is. They also played really well. 24 touchdowns and 14 interceptions for Mr. Fargas and the Detroit Lions. That's a really good season so far for Mr. Tim. Usually we've seen those numbers flip-flop, so Tim's got it going on over there. Mr. Scully, probably not saying that right, for the San Francisco 49ers. He's at 24-16 at 2,300 yards. And then finally, McDimes for the New York Jets. He's got 10 games under his belt, 2,114 yards, 16 touchdowns, 21 interceptions. So seeing more of that normal rookie, ratio that we see. But the Detroit Lions and Fargas and the San Francisco 49ers and their quarterback, Ricky, man, he's got it going on and he's got it figured out. Both of those guys playing really good football. Probably not going to be enough for the Lions. I don't know. I need to go look at who's actually leading that division, but it's probably not going to be enough for them to get into the playoffs. But man, he's playing really well. He's building, and he's starting to get some momentum going there, especially here in the last 2 advances, maybe 3 advances there. And we know what the 49ers done. Yeah, he is not the unstoppable beast that we've seen him before, but he's still really, really good. And this quarterback's able to keep him going. Who do you like at the rookie check-in?
Yeah, I looked at Fargas. I looked at I actually been pronouncing his name Scioli.
It's probably that
sci-fi. But man, I've butchered up names too. So don't ask me for opinions. So, I want to look at a running back, and I've been talking about Nicelonger quite a bit, and he's got a guy that is putting up pretty decent numbers, but There's a couple of running backs I want to talk about. I'm trying to look at my list, and once the ink cools, sometimes I can't read my own writing. So, but Matthew Waters from the Cleveland Browns. He has 156 carries on the season, 715 yards, but he's also scored 12 touchdowns, and he's putting up really good numbers. And then the other guy I want to talk about was the Vikings guy, Jelani Moorhead, 116 carries. He's actually, averaging six yards a pop. So he's really been quite a nice running back, and he's got good size. I like that 6 foot, 209 pound frame. He's a big running back compared to a lot of guys. And again, like I said, he's getting 6 yards of carry. Only has 3 touchdowns, but I think this is a guy that's going to be a piece for him for a long time. And then Waters is just another weapon to those Browns with all that they have there. I think he's going to be kind of like the. I had his name on the tip of my tongue, but I forgot the guy that was on the Bengals last Madden. That was the import running back that Denver brought in. He was just a beast, and I think this guy Waters kind of is fitting that mold. Also, another big running back who's got some explosive in his step. So I think these two guys are going to be somebody that you're going to hear from them in a few seasons ago. So. Keep an eye on these guys.
You got to give a small nod to the receivers. Watts with the Bears, Kaufman with the Packers, Tyson with the Seahawks. All of them having outstanding seasons. Watts and the Bears and Colin clearly going after a rookie record. He does that sometimes. More power to him. This guy's playing outstanding, averaging 20 yards a catch with 21 touchdowns. Just crazy numbers. I want to turn the attention to the defense just a little bit because the Chicago Bears have some outstanding players there too. He's doing exactly what he did last cycle, except he won a little bit quicker early this cycle. He's just, piling away draft picks, going out, getting top-notch players, and just like really building the core of that team. He's got Durham at middle linebacker and Woodard at free safety. Both of these guys just playing outstanding football, 34 tackles and 31 tackles respectively. Those are solo tackles, 5.5 sacks for the middle linebacker, Durham, and 1 sack for Woodward. I remember Durham. I think it was a couple of picks away from mine. I really wanted him. Durham also has 3 interceptions on the season, so that middle linebacker is playing really good football. That would actually put Durham as number 2 in the league for rookies and interceptions. Woodward would be number 3 with 3 interceptions. The only guy above them is Norwell for the Miami Dolphins with 4. So you really got to look at what he's doing with Durham. And then looking at the sacks, well, Durham's also leading the league in rookies at sacks with 5.5. So Durham is getting my nod as one of the top defensive players here. And again, we're seeing Colin put all the pieces together to build for a really good championship possible team here in the OMFL. What do you think about the defense?
Yeah, defense, I'm looking kind of the same thing with you. I looked at Durham. Also, just want to point out because I've played the guy twice already, the middle linebacker for the Dolphins. I got to get his stats up here. Like you talked about, he had 4 interceptions. Noel, 6'3", tall middle linebacker, 236 pounds, and he's fast. He's quick, light, and fast. Massimo has been using him quite a bit, and he's done an exceptional job with this dude. He's all over that middle of the field, and he's coming in on run plays, offensive pass plays. So I think he definitely has ability to possibly be in the talking for top defensive rookie. Another guy that I want to point out, and it's probably somebody that we're not going to get a whole lot of love just for the simple fact that he plays on the defensive line. But I'm going to talk about the guy for the Chiefs. There's a couple other guys that are kind of like right there with him. Peterson from the Panthers. He's one. Then the defensive end Dorsett is also another one. All three of these guys are kind of like almost like hand in hand right there in the middle of the pack. All of them have 5 sacks. All of them have double digits in tackles for loss and multiple tackles on the season so far. Archer, though, kind of caught my eye because he is from the AFC. It was the one that pulled up first for me when I was looking at this originally. Brandon Archer, though, 6'4", 259 pounds from Texas Tech, rookie. And he's been playing phenomenal for the Chiefs. And again, like I said, there's those three guys there, Dorsett, Peterson, and Archer, all kind of fit almost the same mold, same body build, and they're all kind of doing work right now in the OMFL.
Shout out to the punters. You got the rookie leading punter in the league and net average and punts inside the 20. So even the punters, they're players too. We got to give them some love. Punters and kickers are players too, and your punters having a really great season. Maniac, let's look at some teams here in the OMFL. We're getting a lot of questions around advice and what would you say and what would you do and how would you help this team or how would you help that team, and there's so many questions and ways that we can kind of unpack that. And I think we'll have some here in the mailbag. And what the heck am I supposed to tell people? I'm a 3-win team that's on like a 6-game losing streak right now. It's just things are unraveling for me like they always seem to do, and starting on the offensive side. But I challenged us to think, name one team here in the OMFL that you would make one change to. Maybe there's multiple teams that we could go through, but a team that you make one change to, what would that change be, and how would that help that team? We're going to leave it wide open. We can kind of dig at it as you want from there. But who's the team, and how are you going to change that team?
Again, like you said, it was kind of so wide open. I kept thinking, like, how could I approach this and stuff? And this is nothing against the Bucks or nothing like that, or any team that I'm going to talk about. But the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, we've talked about it being very competitive in games, and not just quite there yet, but. He's also got a lot of cap space, and I don't know. It would take a lot to dig into like what the players does he have coming up for contracts and stuff. But I would have liked to maybe seen him be a little bit more aggressive, maybe even with maybe getting a couple players more in trading to try to get his team in a better situation. I mean, nothing against the NFC South. It's always this way. It's always very competitive and stuff. But it is a wide open division that really maybe a couple guys could help him, get into a better situation for him going forward. I'm trying to kind of scroll down through here. His wide receivers, except for a couple guys, are starting to get older. So maybe another wide receiver could have been something that would have been beneficial for him. I know Evans is still there, but he's like 32. Godwin's still there, but he's kind of getting old. Maybe like looking at the wide receiver, he might have could have picked up, a couple guys that maybe could have helped him there, because we all know he does love to air the ball out. And maybe getting someone there that was a little bit more impact for him at the at the wide receiver spot there could have maybe paid some dividends. But he does on paper show that he has like $45 million in cap space. I think that looking at that, if I was running them, I probably would try to spend a little bit more of that, possibly to be competitive. But again, each owner, they have, some guys have a plan looking at it forward. Like, I've got to pay this guy, pay that guy some big cash coming up. So he may have some things coming up in the future that he's trying to save back for. But again, that's just me looking at it. I think from playing him and seeing what I face against him, probably a good, solid wide receiver to go along with those two guys that he had that are getting older. A younger guy could pay dividends for him. And even on the defensive side, maybe go after another linebacker or something like that can help you on the defensive side, stopping the bleeding or something like that. But that was kind of the one that came to my mind, because I love Kev. He's a great guy. He plays extremely well, and but that was one that I just recently played, and I thought, looking at his roster, that maybe would have been something I would have done.
Boy, he is buttering Kevin up. Please don't DM Maniac Kevin. Whatever you do, leave that guy alone. He's just trying to be entertaining on this show. If I was to make one change to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, it'd be defensive end. I love your pick for a receiver, by the way, but it'd be defensive end. His leading sack leader. That's not how you're supposed to say that. His sack leader on his team is Villavea with 2.5 sacks, and I'm pretty sure I gave up all 2.5 sacks. So that's not going to be a good thing. You need to get some pressure. For me, I want to look at the Houston Texans, a team that battles everyone, a lot like what Kevin and his Tampa Bay Buccaneers do, but sort of Houston and Raj has sort of a long-term history here of like being that guy that's right there and he can never sort of get over the hump. And I would go to his defense, and I would just say if I could make one change, it would be the defensive scheme. Keep everything in front of you. Don't take as many chances. Play maybe a little bit more man, a little more zone. Maybe keep guys over deep. Don't blitz as much. Because if you can just get the points down from, let's look where his team is real quick. So before I say it, let's go over here to defense, NFL. How many points has he given up? Oh, the most points. He's going to be in the top. What is this? 4, 5. He's number 5 at 332 points. If you can flip-flop that, if you could get yourself in the top 10 of defense. Right now, currently, the Bills are number 1 in points allowed, 184. Cowboys at 201. 49ers at 210. If you could cut that number by like 90 points, you get that thing under that like 250 to 270 range, that like 8 to 12 range in the OMFL with points allowed, I think you double the wins for the Houston Texans. So if you could just change one thing, I would change the defensive scheme for the Houston Texans, and I would just do a little bit safer of a defense. Looking at some of his defensive leaders, his tackle leader is Damon Stake, what is he? A strong safety import, I'm pretty sure, that came over. His tackle loss leader is Danielle Hunter from LSU. His sack leader is also Danielle Hunter, only 4 sacks on the season. And his interception leader is going to be Stake and Stingley, only 2 each. So if you can play a little bit safer, keep things in front of you, try to get those interceptions to tick up to 6, 7 instead of 2, I think you're doubling the wins of the Houston Texans. Before you go to your next team, any changes that you would make to the Houston Texans?
Yeah, probably. I mean, looking at his roster, he's got a really young roster. And we all know that Roger does love to draft. Maybe I would have held on to a couple more experienced guys. Like he's got currently, like I say, for like competing on this season, he's got 2 rookies starting on the defensive tackles. He's got another young guy starting at linebacker. I seen him ago.
Harris? No.
Harris. Yeah, Harris. He's
Butler.
only 79 overall.
Marquise
I know he's
Butler.
got the zone ability and whatever and whatnot, but and he's really fast. But I don't know if Roger actually uses the linebacker a whole lot. So again, that can be. I mean, his awareness is kind of low, strength is kind of low. So unless he's being used, or it may not pay dividends for you. So I think just looking at his, he's got like a lot of young guys. And we know that the Houston Texans are one of the younger teams in the NFL, but I think a lot of times in these type of games, you look at experience does pay dividends in certain situations. And when you got like your number 2 cornerback, has some nice stats. Last year from Georgia, he's only 76 overall, but his awareness is like 69. Play rec is only 77. So you're looking at all his cornerbacks there. His top guys got 90, but if I'm playing them, I'm dodging him and attacking these other guys. So I think in a lot of ways, yeah, you like to draft and looking for the future, but then again, you got holes for experience wise that can, I think, affect you. At least in this game so far, I found that having a good mix does pay off for me. But again, like I said, just looking at this from the outside in, and I know Roger loves drafting, but maybe that can play against you too, just with the experience part of the game.
All right. Any other teams that you would make any changes to before we open up the OMFL mailbag?
I was gonna kind of like throw this out here. I think with looking at some of the trades that have been done, I was thinking about Nipple. He's just Nipple's always like a garage sale in the trade block. He's like trying to pawn these guys off, and he will get some takers and stuff. And he's a pretty good salesman, I have to admit. So kudos to Nips, but. I was thinking some of the trades that went down, or maybe some of the roster moves, and I think one of the bigger ones. We talked about the Steelers making a couple moves during the season, getting a different quarterback, and I know he let go of Fields for Lawrence, but I almost kind of feel like I think he was in a better position with Fields, and so that was kind of the one thing I want to highlight. Penguins. Don't get mad at me. Yeah, I know we've in the chat and stuff, guys were giving you a hard time about it and stuff, and I'm not trying to bring up those feelings, but to me, I think looking at this, I think Fields is a more dynamic player, and as far as Madden goes, yeah, I know you're gonna have to pay him. I know you're saving money with this guy, but dynamic players are 1 in a million to come by sometimes in these games, and I think Fields is just that type of player that can be a game changer. Lawrence has got 87 speed, 89 acceleration, but we're talking a difference of 5-6 points in the speed and acceleration categories alone, and that can mean the difference of you getting around Micah Parsons in the OMFL Bowl and taking a sack, So again, that's just those type of things I look at. Would he go back and say, okay, I'm only going to be spending another maybe $6 million a season to keep him? Would he maybe say, what, maybe I would keep him? Again, looking from my point of view, I think before he made that, he was 3-0, 4-0, something like that. After that, he's kind of had up and down games. So again, that would be just a specific player that I kind of keyed in on, that I saw a difference from how the team was performing before and afterwards.
I got to go look at one team. I want to do this. I want to look at one team that is a good team, that's having a good season. What would be one change that I would make on that team? And got to look at the New York Giants. And if there were one change that I can make, I would give him a top flight premier running back. Now, why are you saying that, Nate? Josh Jacobs has 151 for 756, averaging 5 yards a carry at 15 touchdowns. And I know that he is playing superb, but I've seen Mr. Beal play whenever he's got that speedster running back. He's got those speedster wide receivers. He clearly has that on this team here with Neighbors, Hyatt, Johnson, the tight end, all making plays. And he's got the dominant defense. He's got the dominant defense figured out. I wanted to say quarterback, but, Givens is young. This is only his second year. I think he was an import guy. Luke Givens came over. Mm-hmm. He's 12-13. So arguably, you can make the case, put a better quarterback on here, but I would actually go running back. I know that Josh Jacobs is having a great season, but he's not going to be super speedster. He's starting to get up there for a running back at least. He's in his 6th year already in this league. I'd like to see a nice, young, quick premier running back on this team and see how that sort of opened up the offense here for the New York Giants. Any changes you make to the New York Giants before we go open up the OMFL mailbag?
Yeah, I like that pick. I think too, looking at his team overall, I think, and I know D Money has posted don't spend money on offensive linemen, stuff like that. But I think two, you look at his offensive line, and I've looked at. I know Madden's kind of funny. Sometimes they don't seem like the premier offensive linemen work really well, but I think you have to take a look at no further than the Dallas Cowboys. His offensive line has been stacked. I know he had a couple of younger guys in there, but the guys that were around them were just really good players. He had an import player too brought in that was a top-notch guy, and he has just dominated running the ball with that import running back that he brought in too, McMillan. And so, like, I think you look at the Giants, I think if he maybe gets younger with really solid offensive linemen that are going to build into the pillars, I think you'll see a dynamic, and maybe that'll make a difference with the running back. But if he does that with the line and then gets a guy that's got 92, 93 speed coming out of the backfield, we're going to look at a absolute juggernaut of a team here with that speed. He's got a wide receiver. Definitely, I think, would rival the Cowboys for this division, making those adjustments.
I can't talk and type at the same time, and I appreciate Riles in the chat, coming and plugging in and finding us. But Riles, we're the oldest online Madden league in the world, and we have some of the top tier players that have ever touched a controller. So we also have some pretty strict, sim rules. I'm just using language that other people would relate to. So I don't know, maybe not as well. Let's go open up the OMFL mailbag. There's some questions that I want to wait on because, well, you and Dwayne were not here, and I want to make sure that you got an opportunity to answer some of these questions. So let me scroll up here and get to them. I think Dwayne has the first one that we left off. Yeah, Dwayne. I thought this was a great question because, well, I'm one of the teams, so what the heck would I know? Dwayne says, what advice would you give teams that are struggling this season? Dwayne, I have absolutely no clue. I've got my thoughts, but I'm going to give it to the guy that actually does know how to turn around a team, Mr. Maniac.
If you're struggling this season, I've been there. Like the 2 Maddens ago when I came back, I really struggled with the Vikings. I was the Vikings for 2 seasons. I think I won in the 2 or 3 seasons I was playing them. I think I only won 2 games, maybe 3 games the entirety of those 3 seasons. And it does build character because when you don't win and you got to play for I just want an improvement, and it kind of starts changing your perspective on a lot of things. And I think if you're struggling this season, take a step back and from the competitive side and just look at it and say, okay, now's the time for me to regroup myself, maybe get myself more acquainted with my playbook, make changes to my playbook, maybe even make changes to what you're running. If you're running 3-4, maybe switch to 4-3, or vice versa. Just the schemes that you're running. Just take a look at inventory yourself just like you would in real life, and just inventory your team. Who's getting old? Who can I start moving out? Who do I need to keep to help? Kind of like we talked about with the Texans, having those guys that have experience and awareness that can maybe benefit your team in certain situations, and so just kind of taking inventory. I think that would be the best advice I could give, and just start building in the draft the best you can. Put a lot of your focus into scouting the players coming up. Get your from each like we say in the draft. There's hardly any gems that fall, but start looking into really scouting guys that are maybe not so much as, we all know the guys are going to go get the top, fastest wide receivers. They're going to go off the board the quickest, the cornerbacks, but get those guys that when you scout them and they start saying this guy is proven, he's smart, all those kind of indicators that says, okay, this guy could be a star or superstar, maybe hidden gem, possibly. Start looking at those guys and building later. And when I say later, in your mid rounds where you have your 3rd round, your 4th round, maybe even a late 2nd round, that's where I think you get a lot of your value that can kind of help you build your team, But again, like I said, my advice was just take a step back, inventory what you're doing, what's been working for you, what hasn't, and just kind of make adjustments that way. And that's what I did. Like I said, I had to pull from my experience. That's what I did 2 Maddens ago. I did improve last Madden tremendously. We were in the thick of things a lot. I don't think I won a playoff game last Madden, but I was in the playoffs pretty much every season. But then this season, definitely team switch, has helped me also. But I actually made it to the bowl game, played Dwayne. I was really satisfied with the way I played. So that there's some satisfaction that can come from, again, taking inventory and trying to, I've done this for so long. Well, it's not working. It's not working like that anymore. Got to make some changes. So sometimes that's the hardest thing to do is like, okay, I've got to look at myself and say, my team, this ain't working. I got to change it up. So.
First, Riles, I think you're maybe misunderstanding me or even my guy, Rob, who's big hurt here in the OMFL. There's all love here. Like, I didn't take it seriously. I was just trying to make a point that we're a really old established league and we have some really, really great players here. You might be a really great player yourself. I mean, I don't know you. So, and Big Hurt's just trying to back me up. Like, he's one of our dudes, man. So he's just trying to say that he too used to, anyway. Don't read too much into it. It's just a chat. We're all trying to get to know each other. All love here. I would say, look, I suck and I have all last Madden and I have all this Madden. I can't figure out the last 2 Maddens. And I think what I've really come to terms with, especially this season, is that I have improved, but yet I can't win close games. I'm losing tons of tight games. I lose them in the third quarter every single game. I hang with the big dogs even at halftime, and then third quarter it unravels for me. And I think number one, you have to find a scheme that fits for you, and you have to build towards that scheme. Building a team is super important, and I never have time to trade. I never have time to make any sort of connections or any of that stuff. And that's what sets me back. I just don't have time. And the guys who hustle and get out there and do have the time to work the trade market and build their overall of their team, that's what separates my team. If you look at the overalls, I'm an 80 overall team playing 85, 87, 88 overall teams. And they pull away in the second half because you just don't have the players to hang with them. And I would say you have to, it's just classic football. You got to run the ball. You can't turn the ball over, and you got to play some form of defense. Don't have to be, Bills and Cowboys. You don't have to be the top 5. You just got to be competent on that side of the ball. And I'm playing pretty well on that side of the ball overall, kind of well, top half of the league at least. I just don't have the players. And ultimately, you got to have the players on both sides of the ball. And the 2 areas I've struggled with have been I've tried to build the offensive line the way I've always built offensive lines. That hasn't worked the last 2 Madden cycles. And I've been building my team to how I got to the bowl game 3 Madden cycles ago with the defensive line. And the last 2 Madden cycles, you can see the stats. Like, you can't build a defensive line and you can't build pressure that way. You got to blitz a lot and get there with blitzes. And I just haven't had a lot of luck in that sort of areas. So definitely has not worked out for me. Let's get over and open up some more of these mailbag questions. Mr. Maniac, you had the next one that I want to wait on. What do you think? Who do you think has their team set up for the best cap-wise for current and future success when it comes to roster building? I want to get over here and look at a couple of these teams really quick. It's just on my team because that's where I'm at. The cap space for me, now I did pay my quarterback this year and a couple other key players, but I'm at $30 million. The Seahawks at 27 or 21 million. The Steelers at 1 million. That's not something that I thought to see. The Texans at 13.5. The Vikings at 2.46. The Titans at 2.46. The Vikings at 24 million. Bears at 26 million. Bengals at 17, almost 18. Your Bills at 25. The Broncos at 19. The Browns at 26. That's pretty good. The Buccaneers at 45. My goodness. He's going to have to pay that quarterback sooner or later. The Cardinals at 73. Man, please pay some players. The Chargers at 20. The Chiefs at 61. The Colts at 25. The Commanders at 8.14. That's not something I expected to see. The Cowboys at 37. The Dolphins at 12. Boy, he's going to have to pay that quarterback. The Eagles at $70 million. The Falcons at 24. The 49ers at 6.66. Boy, that shows you something. It's the devil's number. And the Giants at, I'm just saying, and the Giants at 20.8. The Jags at 11. The Jets at 23. I know this is boring, but I just want to show you the Lions at 3.37, the Packers at 14.2, the Panthers at 64K. Okay, good luck with that. The Patriots at $78 million. My goodness, guys. The Raiders, my gosh, we'll get it out, 4.26. The Rams at 40, good for them. The Ravens at 1.82, and that covers just about everybody. For me, it's got to go to the Dallas Cowboys. Now, he doesn't have the most money of everybody, but he's a team that's in the top 3 in this league. He's winning. He is dominant. He's got young players. He's paid the quarterback, and he's still got a pretty substantial amount of money that he's got to sprinkle and add to his team. I think he's doing a really good job to build that team for the future, continue to win for right now. He's kind of placed the young players in really key positions. But then you got to look at the top teams with a lot of that money, right? Like the Chiefs, right? They've got a lot of good players. He's trying to build through the draft. Now he's got some money to go spend. A couple of those other teams in that $60 to $70 million range. The Patriots, I really like what they're doing, man. They got a lot of money. He needs to go add to this defense. He needs to start bringing in some defensive players. What teams came to your mind, though, as you began to sort of think about this question?
Yeah, whenever I asked this question, it was actually when the Cowboys game was going on. I think when I posted it, I thought the Cowboys were one that really came to mind. Also because he's been really successful getting the playoffs, and he's got the cap space to make a move here and there if he needs to go out and get somebody. And like you say, he's already got the quarterback paid. Another team that I want to look at, an up and coming team, a rising team, is the Rams. He's got his quarterback. He's only 27. Tua is only 27. 90 overall. He's got superstar X Factor capabilities, and he's locked up already for the next 4 years. And he's only counting like 40 million, 42 million, I think, the next couple of seasons against the cap. So really, that's actually pretty decent numbers when you look at how some of these quarterbacks are asking for money. He's got a lot of his key players locked in, young players, and he's got 40 million in cap space. So I think he's having some success now, and you're going to see him have some success in the next couple of seasons. And so far, he's drafted well to go with that. And so I think he's kind of setting himself up to be really in a position to make a run for the NFC West. Unfortunately, he's got Meat Boy and D-Money and Joker all in that division. But he's done a good job so far, I think, with the cap management and cutting the pieces that he needed to cut, getting the guys to come in that he wants to fit his scheme. And I think it's he's got himself set up cap-wise, I think, for success for the end of this season and for the next few seasons to come.
The Cardinals are another team that sort of caught my eye. Lots of money. I know he's not winning the way Joker wants to win just yet, but like he's got some key core players there and a lot of money to spend. He's a team that just like I wouldn't have expected that as I was going through that. And he caught my eye, and I can't wait to sort of see how that one's going to come together. We get a question here from Mr. Kobe. What playoff matchups would you love to see in the upcoming postseason? Number one, I'm going first, 49ers Seahawks. Can Meat finally get over the curse that is D-Money and the 49ers? I don't know. He's got to prove it here whenever the big dogs begin to shine. He's got a lot to show. Give me that one. I'll toss it over to you. What's some playoff matchups you'd like to see?
Well, that is definitely like top three for sure, and I think it would be top on my list too if I really got down to it. I'm gonna take a stab from the AFC side, and this is just kind of from a nostalgic look, and we talk about Buddy Bowles and stuff, but Little Koch versus Denbrew, as always, must see OMFL TV when they're playing, because they play each other so well. They know each other so well, and it's always just a really fun, entertaining, clean game, and it's always just one that like it keeps you on your seat, because you just know that both of them are not out of it, even if they're a couple scores down. It always seems like one starts making a move passing the ball or whatever, and gets right back in the thick of things, and it's just really entertaining to watch those two play against each other.
I love that pick. And on that note, we're going to pause and go to the last OMFL news. Mr. Denbrew, he picked you. Take it away.
All right, we're back. Segment 2. Let's do a little This Week in Sports history. Let's go back all the way back to 1945. I think that's when Roger graduated high school. The National Football League Championship was played. That took place at Cleveland Stadium, where the Cleveland Rams beat the Washington Redskins 15-14, and that was the last game before the Rams moved west to Los Angeles. Art Modell wasn't the only owner who couldn't wait to get the hell out of Cleveland. So yeah, Cleveland's lost 2 football franchises. Congratulations. In 1973, O.J. Simpson became the first NFL running back to rush for 2,000 yards in a season. And in 2013, the 79th Heisman Trophy was awarded to none other than Jameis Winston of Florida State. And back in 2019, Drew Brees breaks Peyton Manning's NFL record, 539 career touchdown passes, as the New Orleans Saints beat up on the Indianapolis Colts 34-7. Brees was a 29 of 30 for 307 and 4 touchdowns, 96.7% pass completion percentage, also a record there. Booze and Brews, I got one for myself. I put a curse on Massimo. Last week, I handed out a big brew to him. I came on here and gave him his props that he deserved. He was having a great season. He still is. But since my brew, he's dropped 2 straight. I take full responsibility. That one is on me, Massimo. I am sorry. The NFL news, or the OMFL news curse is real. My bad, buddy. What do we got? We got a brew here. This is for everybody in the OMFL. All you guys, the scheduling has been super smooth this cycle. The communication has been great. No drama in my DMs, which is how I like it. So everybody keep up the great scheduling. It's much appreciated. That's all I got for this week. I'm going to send it back to Nate and Press Pass Live. See y'all.
Thank you, Mr. Denbrew. There was one drama for scheduling that made me want to eat a bullet, but I think we were able to work our way through that. That sort of happens from time to time. And Denbrew, I also think I love the stats and the NFL stuff. Like, go dig in the OMFL stuff, like the OMFL Owners Hall of Fame and the OMFL Hall of Fame players. Like, go dig at some of those stats. I think that would be kind of fun. And like, can players guess who's in the OMFL Hall of Fame and the stats that he's throwing out there? Here's a matchup before I give it back to you, and then we wrap up this question. Bills versus Dolphins. You give him his first loss with Joe Duke. It's a big-time game in Buffalo. Buffalo's aiming towards that number 1 seed. That's going to go a long way in deciding, does Miami get it? Does the Buffalo Bills get it? Do the Titans sneak in there and grab one? Can the Browns keep sneaking up on everybody? Like, a lot of teams here aiming for that number 1 seed, but I'd love to see that matchup. Give me a snowy game in Buffalo, all that speed, all that firepower of that passing game versus the Buffalo Bills, the winds against them, the snows against the Dolphins, that run game of the Bills, that defense, like classic AFC battle there in Buffalo, or even the other way in Miami. The sun's out, the weather's warm, Miami's spreading you out, he's going deep. Can the Buffalo Bills figure a way to slow him down on their home turf? Either way, that's going to be a really fun matchup. Give me one more that you want to see here in the playoffs.
I'll go from the NFC side, and I'll take one from. I think the matchup has been really well, and I'm going to take a stab and say that I think the Lions are going to be the victor in the North.
I was wrong about that. I meant to say that. Thank you for pointing that out. I was completely wrong. I thought when I looked a couple of weeks ago, Tim was not in the run. He is in the lead right now. So my bad, Tim.
Yeah, and so I think a great matchup there would be Tim of the Lions and the Giants. I think those two guys are kind of they're kind of from the same. I want to say like they kind of play similar, but they're also different. And I think we're one exceeds the other exceeds at the total opposite, so it makes for a great matchup. You see Bill, we've always talked about him being a great defensive caller, and I think Tim has kind of turned and has become a really good offensive caller for the type of team that he has a lot of speed, a lot of playmakers, and so. But I think those two just match up really well, and I think it'd be a good back and forth, good chess match battle between those two, and I think it would be a real fun one to watch. I'm kind of like you. I didn't see it one snow game since I was on the Bills and I was at home. I didn't see one last season. I may hate it once I play it, but I would kind of like to experience it. And I think like if they're playing like in New York and there was a snow game, I think that would be really one that would kind of be nice to see, where you have the Lions with all the speed, like you're talking about the Dolphins have all the speed, but yet you got to be a little bit more conservative, because some of those routes, when they're running those routes, they will slip and it will cause an interception here and there. So it was just a really fun matchup, I think, between those two. That would be a really nice game to watch and an exciting one to watch.
This was a tough one coming over. Raj, yes, eat a bullet. It was harsh. It's also equally true. Those guys made me want to pull the little bit of hair that I don't shave off the top of my head. Also, I love you and I miss you, Raj. We got to connect very soon. Mr. Kobe says, of the coaches you think will make the postseason this season, which one will underperform when they get there? So this is a team that you think gets into the playoffs, but you think underperforms once they get there. I hate to do it. He's such a good dude. Like, I like him. We don't talk all that much. I haven't really talked to a whole lot of people this whole cycle. My life has been a little out of balance and out of control. I don't know why this throat keeps breaking up on me. It is what it is, and I've done a lot of talking today, and it's late. But Seattle Seahawks continues to be a regular season champion, gets in the playoffs, lays an egg. There's something about these big games that he has yet to overcome. This season, I do think the early season struggles have taught him something that will go a long way whenever he gets to the playoffs. But can he keep that momentum? I do believe, in my own case, in a lot of our cases, confidence is such a big issue, and you get in your own head about it. And Meek seems like a super confident guy. I would not overtalk like I know him and he's my best friend. From what I've seen of him, talking to him, watching his streams, he's a guy that exudes confidence, but there has to be something there, some little something there whenever he gets into the playoffs that says, can I make the play in crunch time against the top teams when I need it? I got to, if I'm asked this question and I got to pick a team, Seahawks would be one of those teams that I think might underperform. Who's a team that you think might underperform when we get to the playoffs?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not picking on Meek either, but you kind of have to go with that, because it has been a thing for like the last I don't know, 4, 5, 6 seasons. I don't know that him and D Money, maybe even longer, that they've both been really good, and they get the playoffs and it kind of happens, and you've also seen it happen with him and Dwayne too. It's just, in the NFC, once you get in those playoffs, and even in the AFC too, like once you get to the playoffs, there's not any easy win from then on out. It's all the guys have kind of been battle tested and went through all the rigors of the season. They've kind of been battle tested, and they've kind of got their scars, from the season, whether it's a lot of scars or not, and so it just makes each game like really tough. And I think looking from the AFC side, I mean, it could easily be me, because I was representing the OMFL AFC side last season in the bowl game, and I still could, I'm in the running still for the number 1 seed, and yet I still could fall there as well. I think any team that's at the top, there's always that chance that you're going to fall and fail. And I think I'm one. The Dolphins are one. Because we've seen that happen coming into the 2 weeks ago. It looked like there was nobody that could touch Massimo, and then all of a sudden he's got 2 losses. So again, it can happen the same way in the playoffs. Once you go into that playoff game, and I think sometimes even being the number 1 seed, you have to be like really on your toes, because you're kind of cold. And I know we don't have a whole lot of games being played or whatever, but there's still a little bit of a layoff from the season finale, and depends on if you're sitting good and you set some of your players aside to keep them getting injured. Sometimes you can come into that game cold, and if you get down 14 points. Mm-hmm. In the playoff game, that can be almost a very hard hill to climb out of, and so I think that's where you see a lot of times what happens. And but again, like I said, the Seahawks could be one, I could be one, the Titans could be one, the Dolphins could be one. There's
name
so
them
many
all,
teams.
Maniac. You took mine. I was going to say Dolphins. Their defense is why. Yes, a prolific offense, but when you get in the playoffs, those offenses tighten up a little bit. Scores get a little lower, a little tighter. Not in the first round. I think he'll breeze through the first round if he even has to play a first round. You start getting that second, third round, though, things tighten up. And, man, you're giving up way too many points on the defensive side, way too many big plays. We've seen it in your game. I've seen it in other games against him, against the Browns specifically. Even my team for a little bit there. There's some big plays to be had. If I had to pick some other teams, I would say, even though I love Denbrew and I'm scared that I'm going to make the OMFL news or he's going to send me a DM, he's going to hunt me down. The Browns, their defense, same reason. Prolific, good offense. That defense is a little shaken. And then another guy that exudes confidence, another guy I don't want on my bad side, but Mr. Logan in the Rams. He's got pretty decent offense. He can put up some numbers there. I don't love the quarterback. He can win with him, but I don't know if he's a championship quarterback in Tua. And then that defense just giving up way too many big plays over there with the Rams. All right, Mr. Logan actually has our next question. Moving closer to the offseason, what is the biggest area you're looking to improve with your team through draft, free agency, and trades? For me, Logan, and this is the tough part. It's like, I don't believe there are any secrets here in the OMFL. I believe the top teams know how to win, and they just don't say it because, I don't know, whatever. It is what it is. I am not a top team and have not been in 3 Madden cycles. I am looking at speed, strength, athleticism on all fronts. Free agency, backups, starters. My team lacks speed and athleticism and strength. I'm going to go add that. I'm going to look to make a couple of moves. My problem with my team, Logan, is I'm old and I'm cash strapped. All my money is tied into old aging players that I need to retire or not sign. And I just haven't had enough seasons under my belt to move on from them. I think you're seeing the same thing with Pittsburgh. I think Tennessee turned theirs around a little bit quicker because they didn't have quite as many contracts they were tied to. Logan, I think your team is in the same sort of bucket, kind of tied to some older aging contracts and players that are not good in Madden. Maybe in the NFL, good players, but not 100% great in Madden. I think, the speed of your receivers, right? That doesn't make really good Madden receivers. So for me, I'm looking add speed, strength, athleticism, maybe make some moves. I just don't have a lot of players that players are interested in, so that means I got to move draft picks, and draft picks are gold to me. The contracts, the players that you can hit on, like they're just golden to me. You got to draft good, But I just don't like to let go of draft picks. So that's what I'm doing. Maniac, I know that you've started to think about the future of your team and a team that's aging in some spots, but you've, replenished in some areas. What's your goals going into the offseason?
Yeah, I mean, Josh Allen has been kind of one that there was like 3 or 4 weeks ago. I was like, he's such a good cornerback, and there was some times where he just wasn't throwing and hitting nothing, and I was like, I could probably do just as well with a 65 overall or 70 overall quarterback and do what I'm doing. But those guys, like, they get older. I know on the defensive line, I had a really older defensive tackle, which I went out and I spent my first round draft pick on Sweat with a trade with Tennessee. I know I given up a first round draft pick, but this guy's young. He's only his second year out of being a rookie from Texas, and that also helped. He's from Texas, but the main thing that drew me to Sweat is he's 6'5" or whatever it is, 350 pounds, and so he's the big dude in the middle of the field that I need to help shut down the run against the D-Waynes and those type of guys. I've got the speed, but I didn't really have the bulk in the middle, and so he's going to kind of help there. And I think the keys to any team, though, is, like you said, speed. Speed is always going to be king in Madden. But I think if you can get someone that's buildable in the draft, that's got the speed, the core building blocks, even if you get them and they're like a normal dev, and they're like 21 or 22, but they've got 93, 94 speed, and they just need to be trained each week and stuff. I think those guys are key points. And then I think on the offense and defensive lines, especially, you need strength, and you need guys that can actually move. And not so much, like on the defensive line, I don't think you have to have the guys that are 85 speed or whatever. I think you can get, guys that are especially defensive tackles, if they're in the top to mid 70s in speed, but have really good acceleration because they've got the quick burst to get after the running back. I think those are key guys too, but play rec, I think, on defense is an maybe underappreciated stat for defense. I think play rec plays a big part, and then awareness. To me, I think awareness is another one that it seems like there's at times where if I've got a couple guys that go out with an injury or something, and then the backups come in and their awareness is really low, they've got all the tangibles that are really similar to the guys that just went out, but their awareness and their play rec is down, and they usually give up plays. And so I just from those experiences, I think on the defensive side, play rec, awareness is a key factor. If you get that along with guys that have got the physical abilities of strength and speed, you've got someone that can be a difference maker on your defense. And then, like you said, on offense, I am a guy that I think that you need, like on the wide receiver, I think you need a possession receiver, and I think you need a guy that can take the top off. I think if you got the possession receiver, you can attack the underneath routes if they're covered over the top, and then if they're keeping everything close, and you got the guy that can take the top off the defense at any moment, I think that's just another element that keeps the defenses guessing, and then it opens up the run game, because then they're worried about, am I going to give up the short pass or the deep pass? And then all of a sudden, here you get in with a run, and now they got to worry about run up the gut, run outside. So instead of having okay, he's got no speed at wide receiver, player by forward, player by underneath, he can't get past 15, 20 yards. We're going to rush the quarterback. We're going to blitz. We're going to run blitz. And so then you start seeing where teams will start really dominating you and stuff, because all that they're doing is really kind of covering all those aspects, and you have no counter. So I again, this is me. I think you need to have those aspects covered in your basis of your team when you build. You got to have that possession guy, the guy that can take the top off. You got two types of running backs in the backfield. One that can just burn the outside, one that can bust up the gut and get the hard 2 or 3, 4 yards that you need. So again, that's just me, how I've tried to build this team and how I'm going forward. And I think that's a big thing for me in this Madden especially.
Deeper we get into these shows, the longer that Maniac talks. But listen, he's done it. That was just a little joke at my buddy, but he's done it. He's built a team since moving over there to Buffalo that's gotten him in the bowl game and playing with a lot of confidence. Mr. Raj, last question of the day, then we're going to put a bow on it and get out of here. About an hour and a half, a little over an hour and a half deep here. He says, given the way that the game is playing, what advice would you give to a 4-win or less team with a quarterback due for a big payday? So this would be me, and I think maybe Raj, right? We're a 4 or 5 win team, a quarterback that's up for a contract and that's due. He says, in layman terms, do you pay the quarterback 55 to 60 million a year, or do you trade him off / let him walk and draft a new guy, which would allow you to take the extra money to be used and fill voids across the roster? My input is that I think Maniac and I both kind of approached this last Madden cycle, and I've approached it already this Madden cycle, but I think you have to look at how the quarterback's playing. Overall, is he helping you play to your style? And if the answer is no, then you got to let him go. You got to either let him walk, which is really hard. I think you got to try to trade him away if there are takers. And normally you got to sell, at a pretty medium to low price. It's very hard to sell high around here, especially for quarterbacks, because no one wants to pay a quarterback. And so I think if you can sell him at a pretty decent price, get something for him, and then go draft your next guy and use that to start to fill in the roster. My counter argument would be, if you're not playing terrible with him and he's playing pretty average the way I am now with my current quarterback, Anthony, I went ahead and paid him because I'm playing pretty good with him this season. Not amazing, but I've improved the numbers. I'm playing better. I'm trying to gain some confidence, but I am 31st in the league in passing, mainly because my offensive line just does not protect me at all for any type of long passes. That's something else we got to work on. Then I'm going to pay him because having the extra money with a rookie quarterback isn't going to help my team. Like, I need talent. Sooner or later, you got to pay somebody to stay and build the talent. I don't think the days of winning with 68 overall quarterbacks like Dwayne has done in the past are here. I think you got to have players to win. And though you may win with an 80 to 82 overall team, I don't think you're going to win a bowl game with an 80 to 82 overall team. I think you got to be in that 85 to 88 plus range to be able to win here. And that means you got to have talent. And you got to get that talent together on one roster, and that means you got to pay players sooner or later. So what about you, Maniac? I've heard you at least question what to do about Allen, who was already paid, but how do you approach do you pay the quarterback? Do you let him walk? Do you go rookie? What are you doing?
Well, I think the thing that I've battled with myself, the demons of the quarterback myself in this Madden was, and I have to look at, first and foremost, I think you have to look at the overall health of your team. I think if you've got a very aging team and like an aging offensive line, aging defensive line, those type of things, and those important positions, then I think, especially if they're aging and they're not like really good players, then you have to build. And I think you let the quarterback walk. You try to get as much you can. Maybe like you said, you may have to take a little bit less to get rid of him, because again, somebody else is going to have to end up paying him, or they're just going to be renting him for a season, and then they're going to have to let him walk. So again, you may have to do a little bit of horse trading, as some say, but again, I think you have to look at the overall health of your team. Now, if you got a young, talented team, I think I will look at Rodgers' team. We were talking about it. I think he does need some veteran help, but he's already so young at almost every position of that team, and he's got money, and he's got a young quarterback that is a difference maker. For me, I'm paying him I'm paying that guy. He's done. I mean, he's one of the top 3 quarterbacks with passing yards, and we see what he's done with his running with his wide receiver with that quarterback. I think you pay him. You've got guys that are basically on contracts for the next 2 or 3 seasons without having to pay any of those guys. You just continue to build that roster. Maybe go pick up one older free agent guy that actually mixes in really well with younger guys, and just keep building them, because I think not this next season, but by that 3rd season, we're like a lot of guys you're fixing to pay, but maybe he's got himself in a position that he can really compete with a very dominant team that by then, looking at his overalls, like I said, you look at the youth that's on his team, in 2 or 3 seasons, the way Madden progresses, he may have a 92 overall, 93 overall team that's really playing well and tough to compete against. And then you got that cornerstone quarterback there to kind of go along with that. But again, like I said, if you're looking at your team, they're old, they're aging, they're middle tier of the road, and a couple guys maybe going to retire, and you got an older quarterback, like say Josh Allen, that's 28, 29 years old, but he's like an X factor. Move on from him, get somebody younger that's got a lot of speed, that maybe you can extend plays out of the pocket and build around him as you go the rest of this Madden.
Raj, that's exactly what we talked about. The one thing we would change about your team is just slowing down on defense just a little bit. Thank you, Bill, for sending me a message that some way, somehow, the injuries got turned off. So for those of you who've already played this week, lucky you. Those are going to be back on now, and we are ready to rock and roll. Maniac, let's put a bow in the show. We're an hour and 45 deep. I still got to go play a college game before I get in trouble. So let's put a bow on the show with one final thought.
Man, nothing has changed, man. I still love to talk, and I'm trying to do better, but I still am excited about
it's you and Big Hurt. When you guys do shows, those babies are 3-4 hours long. You guys can both go.
Oh yeah. We have a hard time getting a word in on either side once we start talking. So, but I do really enjoy participating and talking about the OMFL. A lot of these guys around here, we've all kind of been together for several years. So a lot of good friendships and different things through social media that we have here at Discord. I really am looking forward to the rest of the season. I think we've heard Dwayne and Denbrew say it a lot, that there is a lot of parity. We're seeing a lot of guys competing even against some of the top dogs and stuff. And it's not the feeling like, D Money's really got everything in the bag, or Dwayne's got everything in the bag. You're just playing. No, everybody feels like they have a chance. And I think that brings excitement across league wide. And I think that goes a long ways to keeping everything rejuvenated and guys feeling really involved, engaged, and just a little push for the Deuce Dynasty. We're fixing to finish up our 3rd season, getting ready to go into the off season. We've so far had really not a lot of issues, except for Kevin, stat padding. No, I'm just joking. But I keep giving Kev a little bit of a ribbing a little bit. So, but he's a great guy. But no, it's been good, and we've I've enjoyed playing in both leagues, and I just really do enjoy this community and love being here and love being around you and the guys, man.
Yep, I concur. Mr. Raj, 370 over 6. No way I'm paying that. I don't know why one of my lights are freaking out over there. You can kind of see it flickering over here. But my guy was like 160 or 180 over 5. And I was like, okay, I can handle that. 370, 270. No way, no how. I got to let that guy go some way, somehow. I got to trade him or something. I love the parody. I love the scores. I love sort of where we are. Might make maybe some tweaks. Probably not, because I love sort of how it's playing. It's playing the best that it can. I do think we will probably go all Madden next season just to give it a feel, look and see. Let's go see what it plays like and see if that plays really even better. But I like that we're seeing some defensive scores. Overall, things seem to be smooth. We had one little issue that didn't feel little and probably wasn't little, but we worked our way through that. I can't think of anything really. I think we're moving in the right direction, the good direction, and by the time we get to the next show, we'll probably be week 15, 16. So it'll be playoff prediction show. Hopefully, Mr. Dwayne can make it. He hasn't been able to make it in the last couple of shows, so hopefully Dwayne can come hang out with us, and we can start giving our playoff predictions and our bowl predictions, and start looking at the future. So should be a lot of fun. I also get off after this week, so I work half a day on Thursday, and then I'm off for 2 weeks. So I'm excited to do some streaming, do some playoff games, so we can actually call some playoff games. Should be fun. I love the holidays. I love being able to call some games with some guys, and should be a ton of fun. So guys, thanks for hanging out with us tonight. Make sure to hit the like button if you like the show. If you're checking us out for the first time, hit the subscribe button if you like the content. If you're an adult and you're looking for a circle of people that enjoy the hobby that you do in gaming, whether it's sports games, shooter games, action games, if you play it, we got a group here that actually plays it as well. So come check us out. Details down in the Discord. Looks like some new scores just popped up. The Panthers with the big win over the Falcons. Cowboys with the big win over the Eagles. Rams with the big win over the Steelers. So some games already starting to trickle in here. But make sure you like us, subscribe us, come hang out with me. I think I'm actually going to go right back up and play my OMFL college game against the CPU, get that knocked out really quickly. I appreciate you guys. Thank you for hanging out with me. I love you. You matter. Take care of yourselves. Take care of those around you. We'll see you in the next one. Peace.
Doses.
Smash that like and subscribe.